A. Authoritative. How do you know this website is reliable? When deciding whether or not a website is authoritative, you have to know who the author is, or who's responsible for that website. Basically, on whose authority am I being told this information? So the first thing you want to do is find the author of the web page or the article you're looking at. So we're going to scroll back down, remember our water question, and look at the Healthline article that we first looked at and try to find out who our author is. Now over here we have a picture of a person, which is usually a good indicator that is the author. It says medically reviewed by Elaine K. Liu, MD, on May 22nd, 2019, and written by Crystal Raypole. Right. So I can't click on Crystal's name. I can't find out who Crystal is, but I can click on Elaine's name. This is a little bit different because it was written by one person, but it was medically reviewed by someone else. This is a good thing because this article is about medicine, right? Whether or not something can kill us, that's medicine. So medically reviewed basically means that they had someone look at it and make sure it was medically factual, that the medicine in it is true. And that person that reviewed it was Elaine K. Liu, MD. When someone has MD after that name, it means they are a medical doctor. Do you think a medical doctor is an expert in medicine? I do. But just to make sure, I'm going to click on Elaine's name. And here it tells me more about Healthline and how they work. And it tells me that Healthline's medical affairs team focuses on making sure that Healthline's content and services are accurate. When you read all this, it basically says they want to make sure that what they're saying is true and it's good information and will help people. And then it tells us about the people that work for Healthline. And we can scroll all the way down here to get to Elaine. And it tells us that she is a board-certified internal medicine physician. Basically, she's a doctor. She went to med school and she has studied and worked in medicine for a really long time. So she's probably a good person to tell us about a medical issue, like this one, whether or not water can be fatal. But just to be sure, let's go back to our Google results and look at some other articles. This one, Strange But True, from Scientific American. Strange but true, drinking too much water can kill. So it says basically the same thing as the article we looked at before. Now this one is by Coco Ballantine, and it links, her name's a hyperlink, so let's click on it. And it doesn't tell us anything about who Coco is, but it's okay. We're going to double check. We're going to open a new tab up here, and we are going to Google Coco Ballantine. And then we're going to look at her resume. And basically we see that she's a writer. She got a degree in biology, but her big degree is in journalism. So she does know science, but most of her training is in writing about science. Not being a scientist, but writing about scientists. So let's go back to the story. Because I'm not sure Coco is a science expert the way that Elaine is, right? Elaine's a doctor. Coco is a professional science writer. But when we read the article, we can see that Coco has talked to some doctors. See, we have a quote from Amin Aranat, who is, we've got a bunch of words, but basically he works at, and is very high up, at hospitals and medical schools. We have more information that Coco got from another doctor, and we have another quote from a man who's chairman of medicine at Georgetown University Medical Center. So while Coco isn't the same expert that Elaine is, Coco did interview a lot of doctors and people that I would consider experts. So both of these articles are good sources of information. This one by Coco, because Coco talked to a lot of doctors. And this one by by Crystal, because it was reviewed by Elaine, who said, yep, all of this is true, it's good information. So you always want to know who the author is. If the author is not an expert, then you want to know if they interviewed experts. An important thing to remember about your authors and your sources is that you should always be able to follow up on them. You should always be able to find them and hopefully contact them in case there's any questions. If someone's going to put their name out there and say, yep, this is true, they should also be available to answer more questions and stand by their work. So, to summarize, you always need to have an author. That author might be a single person, or it might be an organization like the American Library Association, but you always need to have an author, and that author should either be an expert in that field or have talked to experts. And that is what makes a site authoritative.